Hey, what's up everyone? In today's video, I'll be doing my own personal take on Outriders with over 700 plus in-game hours played. So, I think I have a decent amount of experience with this game to do a review. I'm also going to try to keep this as short as possible, so I apologize in advance if I missed anything. I'm going to be covering the main two things in this game: the story mode you have to complete to get to the endgame, then the endgame itself, and seeing if Outriders is a game worth purchasing or not. Don't forget to subscribe for more Outriders content. I also have a Discord set up for anyone looking for more people to play with. The link to that will be in the description down below. Let's start off with the campaign mode. The character you play as landed on this planet called Enoch with a bunch of other survivors because the Earth was destroyed and now they need a new place to call home. Everything seemed pretty nice at the start, so they were going to tell the rest of the survivors that the planet was good to land on and to start setting up to live there. Well, they were wrong because the planet has these insane storms called anomalies that basically destroy everything. And by the time they realized this, they were too late and already told everyone it was okay to land. Your character then gets hit by an explosion from a truck that's on fire while trying to stop the evil guy from telling everyone else it's okay to land. Then one of your friends you meet right at the beginning throws you into a cryopod, freezing you until someone opens it up to help you out. 31 years later, some friendly people open it up and then ditch you right away because you weren't what they were looking for. It's okay though, they become allies with you shortly in the story. Within those 31 years of being asleep, everyone on the planet is at war with each other, fighting for any kind of supplies, and you just happen to wake up out of the cryopod on the enemy's territory, where everyone has basically gone savage, killing each other and fighting anyone for any little thing that they may have. The bad guys realize you're not one of them and they throw you into a no man's land, which is a war zone that nobody can really cross. Then, to spice it up, remember those anomaly storms in the beginning? Well, they're still around and your character takes a piece of rebar right to the chest because of the storm and basically killing him. And that's the end of the story. No, I'm just joking. Your character comes back to life and rips the piece of rebar from his chest, because the storm's weird magical energy now made you a superhuman with elemental powers that you get to pick from. What happens next is you fight your way to get to the ally side of the battlefield to team up with them using your new powers. You also find out there's a distress signal coming from somewhere far away, meaning there are some supplies you can get to. As you proceed through the campaign, you start to learn about the native people that lived on this planet and why the anomaly storm is so crazy and out of control. That's basically a quick summary of the story without spoiling too much. The story itself isn't absolutely amazing like God of War or The Last of Us, but it feels pretty original and new, which is really nice. This doesn't mean the story sucks or has memorable moments to it, but I did enjoy playing through it. Having 17 different areas to play through and different environments with certain areas gives you a fresh feeling whenever you move to another area. The part where it gets a bit repetitive is the types of enemies you face, whether they be people using guns or the beasts. You tend to fight the exact same enemies in every level, with the only difference being their cosmetic look. Yes, there are some unique boss enemies that you get to fight in the game that feels really fun seeing all of their flashy attacks, but generally speaking, the enemies are mainly the same. When it comes to gathering loot, you don't get anything special, except for a few legendary weapons here and there, but even then you don't use them for long because as your character levels up, you end up picking up whatever weapon or armor matches your level just for the best firepower and armor rating. That kind of stuff only really matters in the endgame, so you're not going to be carrying over and leveling up gear you got in the campaign because it's also extremely expensive to do so in the endgame. And it's just more efficient to constantly pick up whatever weapon or armor has better stats regardless of the attributes and maybe the mod that's on it. For replayability, it's not that great. You beat the story once, it's pretty interesting, but you don't care a whole lot to beat it again. The only reason you're beating the story again is to get a new character you made to the endgame. It also took me around 7 hours to beat the campaign while the difficulty was increasing. That's also not including any of the side quests either. All in all, I'd say they did a good job on the different types of environments to play in, the story itself being easy to understand, follow, and play through, getting a good feel of all the skills and different types of enemies, preparing you a bit for the endgame. Now let's talk about the endgame and what it has to offer. There are a total of 18 different maps and areas to play through with a leveling system that goes from tier 1 to tier 15, increasing in difficulty with every tier. The main objective is to build your character by obtaining legendary items, which you will get when you start to do the higher tier pod rescues and make your character strong enough to get through them easily. Not only do you have to obtain gear, but you will also have to craft different mods to place on them, affecting the skills you use, the damage you dish out, and your survivability. The crafting system in the game is really amazing with how many different options and potential mod combinations you can use. One of the main problems with this is that there's always a couple of mods that are going to be used in every build you try to do because they're not all balanced evenly. Nonetheless, it's extremely fun to mess around and test out all the different mods. Also, forgot to add, there's a couple of expeditions that do have an exciting boss fight at the end of to make it really feel like the level is building up to something big. Now I'm going to cover some of the issues with the endgame. Having 18 different expeditions sounds like a lot, but it really isn't. Each expedition usually takes you anywhere from 5 minutes to 15 minutes to complete, so you can burn through all of them pretty fast. Not to mention, they don't change at all. The types of enemies, spawn locations, and just everything about it. Except for the loot you get at the end, that's completely random. Another huge issue is the online play. Majority of the time, it's extremely laggy and hard to play with others. Also, because of the hard lag, some of the mods you use on your weapons and armors don't work how they normally should, which can be really frustrating at times. During those pod rescues where there's a big boss fight at the end, you'd think it would become a lot more difficult with taking them down, when in reality, half of the time you take them down so fast, you kind of question why he was even there in the first place. Lastly, the game still has its fair share of bugs and glitches here and there. Obviously, not as bad as when the game first started, which was completely horrible. But I have to give it to the developers on this because they didn't just release the game and say, oh well, it's got a ton of bugs and glitches. They kept at it, constantly fixing and updating the game every week, trying to balance gear out and get rid of bugs, so that was really nice to see. Currently, they stopped focusing on the bugs and balancing in the game, which may sound awful, but they're working on a very big DLC to this game that will hopefully resolve every issue and add a ton of more features. Looking at the price of Outriders on Steam costing about $80 Canadian, with all of these pros and cons in the game, the final question, would I recommend a friend or just anybody to buy and play Outriders? I'd have to say no, because of all the negative factors that were talked about before and how expensive and not fully complete the game is. If the game does go on sale for around 50, maybe even 60 bucks Canadian, yeah, I'd probably recommend it then. Another big thing that could change my mind is how successful their new DLC World Slayer will be. Those are the two final factors that would make me recommend this game to a friend or a random person. Again, this is my personal opinion on the game with over 700 hours of experience with it, and also someone who makes a lot of content on it as well. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts on the game. That's everything for today's video. If you found it helpful or entertaining, drop a like. Or if you think there's something I can change, add, or forgot to mention, let me know in the comment section down below. I'd also like to give a big shout out to I Am Legend for becoming the first member of my channel. I really appreciate the support a ton. Not only just from him, but from everyone who's subscribed and commented on things I could do better in my videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. And don't forget to subscribe for more weekly content.